I just was going to follow up a little comments from the last time we met. Obviously, Josh remains out for this week. We're kind of still a work in progress. I think that for us, we're just trying to get him in a position that, I don't know if it's going to be, the test come back. It's really about how his body handles it. It's not a season-ending injury, but it's just a little bit about how he handles certain stressors and certain things as his body gets a little bit better, right? So it won't be before our first bye week for sure. So kind of just a work in progress as we come on the backside. The other guy, Sean Miller, unfortunately won't be with us this week. He's still going through some evaluation, looking at different options that are available to him. Not really able to comment fully on how long he'll be out, but I just know he won't be involved in this week's plan. So we did gain a couple though. Aiden Lawfrey, who we planned on intended in Reptile fall camp, will be back with us full go this week. He'll be involved in our plans. Another freshman that has been very impressive since he got here. We had him last spring and like what he brings to the table, especially in the running back room, obviously with the departure of Josh in this week's game plan to gain another body. But I will tell you that Chase Hayden and Reggie probably had the best week of preparation to this point since I've been here with those guys. So I think to know that they're into that rotation, to know that they're going to be involved in the game plan has really helped their confidence, and not only their confidence, the coach's confidence around them. So excited to see him. Really nobody else that didn't play in the first game that we'll see. I think guys might play more just because we like the results of what we saw. Maybe a little bit more rotation at certain positions, but overall, thought we got out of the game except for those two guys. Very, very healthy. Made a lot of steps positive. This week's been more of the same. We've actually, reason I'm zooming with you guys now, we've practiced in the evenings this week, starting really from Sunday on. So we practiced literally at 7:00, which mirrors the game time that we're going to be heading into on Friday night. So guys have been really, really good. We'll take our first Big Ten game on the road. Obviously, a tremendous challenge. I have a lot of respect for Coach Allen and Indiana and everything that they've accomplished, the culture he's created and built. So I have a tremendous challenge in front of us for Friday night, and we'll open up for questions.
Coach, over the years, it's always shown to be tough to win on the road with all the planning and scheming and practicing you do for a game like this. What can you do to get over the hump of it's on the road, and that's an inherent challenge?
I would reference back to Minnesota and Penn State from a year ago. It might have been a challenge before we got here, but I think the way we approach things and the way we do things, we try to keep home games as similar in our preparation as we can to away games. You can't ignore the fact that you're playing in a different environment. You're playing in a stadium that's not yours, but sometimes when you're in an environment where everybody's against you, it allows you to rally together better, uniformity on the sideline.
Hey, Bret, I know obviously Andy Boo is important to your preparation every week, but his history obviously with Walt Bell, how much do you guys lean into that history at all this week, just trying to figure him out?
I think as we get older as coaches, there's history around us everywhere, right? Obviously, I've never directly competed against Coach Allen as a head coach, but I've come around his coaching tree and his staff, offense, defense. They've really had some change and turnover from a year ago at the coordinator positions in particular. But I think you rely on past experiences. But my guess is that Coach Bell and Coach Allen have come together and, created an Indiana offense that's going to be unique to them and what they believe in and plays to the players' strengths. The biggest challenges for us will obviously be the quarterback and who they put under center or who's behind in the center and the quarterback shotgun and all that goes into that. Obviously, some of our coaches even have ties to some of their players, right? More so than coaches. So the game of football in this portal world, it used to just be portal for coaches. Now it's portal for players. So there's a little bit of crossover and everything.
Bret, a recruiting question. You talked about how there's a recruiting advantage of these kind of weekday games and in the week zero. What benefit did you see last year of having that extra week to recruit and then having some of these weekday games?
I literally saw both Isaiah Adams and Zy Chrysler during our bye weeks. I think Isaiah was week 1 and Zy was week 2, our bye week 2, as well as several other high school players that we signed. So there's what I get excited about. We've been myself, Pat Hamilton, and our personnel staff have been kind of mapping out how we're going to use these 42 days in the fall to maximize not only the kids that are committed to us, but also kids that we want to evaluate both in high school and beyond. So it's an exciting time, something that we really get probably a little bit more excited than others, because I know because of the inherent success that some of our guys that we got in bye weeks last year are directly attributing to our season that we have in front of us. I think that's what gets us excited about to see this challenge. Literally Saturday, there's a couple games that really intrigued me, but one of the disadvantages to going to a school on a Saturday, if you have a high school contest, is you don't really get a chance to be in the school. One of the things that we try to do is really just overemphasize our visit, right? So we'll, not only go see the head coach, but we'll go see the athletic director, we'll go see the principal, go see anybody that touches this young man's lives. Even though we're in a time frame in the fall where we can't talk to a player, we can go talk to their English teacher, we can talk to their math teacher, we can talk to their science teacher. We can find out something about them that nobody else does, and gives us an inherent advantage. So Saturday, this coming weekend may or may not get used. There's a couple games that really excite me, but I'm really trying to decide whether it's worth that or waiting to a bye week, Monday, Tuesday, or a Thursday, Friday to maximize.
And then you guys are able to reach out to 2024 starting tomorrow. How does that pitch evolve as you guys get more and more time?
I know this, Jeremy. Like, you can actually reach out at 12:01 tonight, right? And I'll put out my annual message. You won't hear from us tonight at 12:01 because I think people should be asleep, right? If you're getting up and going to class at 6 a.m, the only people that stay up this late are coaches that have chosen this profession, right? So I'll send that out again this evening. Just, I think this world of recruiting, and I say this all the time to kids, right? Recruiting is recruiting. They define it that way in the manual. They talk about it, but here at Illinois, we get to know you, and I want you to get to know us. It's called recruiting, but if you do it the right way, you learn a lot about each other that help you make great decisions. So, we can start calling our 23s. For the last month, we haven't been allowed to do that. They could call us, but we couldn't call them. And then 24s start the initial conversations you can have through text and DMing and stuff, and that's exciting, because then it's as simple as, hey, Jeremy, give me a buzz, right? And it really enables you to communicate a lot more effectively. And I know we've already got it mapped out. We met today for about an hour and a half on who's reaching out to who and why, and kind of the first introductions, and then you automatically instigate. Today we had a prospect with a birthday. We bombarded them today with information. So there's specific target dates, what Pat Pearson, Pat Emmilton, what our video department has put together, and the new rules that exist to wish guys good luck, not only on individual game to game, but to start a season, to make it really personal and direct. I think is a big thing for us to have success in recruiting.
Thanks, Bret.
Yeah.
Bret, Indiana not doing a spring game at all hurt your preparation or affect your preparation for them at all?
I get the question. I think today's spring game world has probably been diluted over the last 10 to 15 years, right? With the publicity that they get. I know I was guarded in what we did in our spring game because of the opportunity to kind of conceal a little bit offensively. And, Indiana went the route. They didn't have one on TV at all, right? So that kind of negated any opportunity there. I get it. And to be quite honest, each coach has to make individual decisions. And for me, I really treat that spring game as an opportunity to, stress our players that don't get a lot of stress, our kickers, our punters, our snappers. I wanted to see Tommy react the first time. I think Tommy had success this past weekend in certain regards because of the exposure he had for that spring game and being able to feel that scrutiny, even though it wasn't a big crowd. It was that environment that we put him in that I think helped him multiply to get to where we are today. So to each his own.
Thanks, Bret.
Yeah.
Bret, I know you've talked about having your, essentially 3 starters at those 2, inside backer positions. How did you think those 3 guys played against Wyoming with, Isaac getting his first real shot, TJ back after a year?
Yeah, I was excited. I was excited going into the game. All 3 of them obviously were in there. I think the element that Dark brings, right? Darko really was also our special teams MVP. We have offensive and defensive MVPs in all 3 phases, and look team MVPs, and Dark was actually our special teams MVP with Hugh Roberson, just because of his value that he contributed on. He had a big block on the KOR. He was effective in kickoff coverage and punt. and SWAT. So like Dark has a lot of value besides inside linebacker. And when I talk to NFL scouts, I talk about that, right? Like he's a guy that not only I think could play, possibly at the next level at the inside linebacker position, but he's a guy that brings tremendous value in all four phases of the kicking game. Highly impactful in our locker room, the way he handles his business. He's kind of an adopted Brown brother. He's always running around with Brown and Sid. Those three are always connected at the hip, usually with their shirts off and very, very bronzed up. But they all, I think all three of those guys, I think Tariq, to see the value he brought at two positions, CJ Hart, I've said this all along since I got CJ in the program, like he's a gamer type guy. He practices well, but CJ just has another gear that he gets to in a game moment, and he showed that once again.
This is a totally different subject, but with NFL rosters, cut down to 53 yesterday. Just a lot of guys you coached last year found their way onto a team. Just what's that may mean for the program?
Well, it's hopefully it speaks well for the program, but a program is made up of individual stories, and I got to tell you, to get a couple of those messages yesterday was pretty cool. As soon as I heard about TA, I gave him a holler and just started screaming on the phone, and to hear his reaction was pretty cool. Called Jake Hansen a little bit later on and heard his reaction. I actually got off the field the day before and had a message from the Dolphins about OC, and talked to him the day before and the day of. So some of these stories aren't always great, right? But to see the journey of some of these guys, it's pretty cool.
Thanks, Bret.
Coach, if you aren't recruiting on Saturday, are you sitting at home, your new house, watching games? And which games are on your list?
Well, obviously there's one game we'll watch in particular, right? Virginia comes on at 11:30, I believe, on ESPN3. I don't even know if I get that. We got a new network system at our house that only my wife knows how to navigate, so I'm at her discretion. I think what we'll do Saturday, we'll get in real late. We're traveling by bus, so we probably won't get here probably till three or so in the morning. So I'll let my coaches, players. It's actually our players' day off by NCAA rules. I got to give them the day off. So we'll come back in as coaches. We'll put Indiana behind us. Probably watch a little bit of Virginia live, and then start our preparation on them. That kind of supplements everything we've been doing since we obviously know the coaches they hired, the coordinators they've hired, and kind of cross-check that and just kind of take an overall assessment. I know a lot of people probably think it's just Saturday. I'm not saying I'm not going to work in an hour of pool time with two little blondes and maybe an older blonde as well, but it's definitely going to be a day to kind of recharge the batteries.
Thanks, Coach.
Bret, how much more time does it take to prepare for a team like Indiana in this situation where there's more unknowns versus a team that you're familiar with and the coaching staff hasn't had a lot of turnover?
I think it's always true. Like even if there wasn't the turnover every season until they play, you really have a lot of unknowns, right? And game plan is a big part of college football, NFL, high school, right? Coaches are taught to game plan. But the thing I love about, watching and hearing about Coach Allen from afar, and then now in this conference with him, you realize the principles he's built upon. I followed him in Indiana football on Twitter ever since probably midway through the spring last year. And you just see the things and the information they're putting out. This team is built on discipline, togetherness, offense, defense, special teams. They have some really talented players. I think both corners for Indiana that we project to see probably the better two pair of corners possibly in the Big Ten. Very, very talented, very, very skilled. And 23 in particular, he shows up in every phase of the kicking game as well. He's blocked punts. He's covered punts, blocked a field goal against Purdue a year ago, like just a really talented player. So I think I respect the way the players play, no matter how they line up and what fashion they line up, or however they play. They have two returning tackles that obviously have played some good football and done a lot of different things. They got a defensive tackle, number 94, who's a very explosive, dynamic athlete that is tough to block. So they got good players all over the place. And it's going to be a fun challenge to see how they lay out. It's something that, we obviously try to project, but Saturday gets down to about what happens on that first play and how do you react to it afterwards.
Hey, Brett, what was so profound about those messages you got from guys like Tony or Jake? And is there anything that specifically stands out about what they said to you?
Yeah, so I really believe that recruiting is a lifelong moment, right? It's a lifelong relationship. So I distinctly remember, when all of those guys, right? Some of them have made it, some of them had it now. I literally sat down and sent every one of those guys in a group message that was entering their first spring OTA. And I think I listed maybe 10 to 12 things that I've learned through not only college football, but being in the NFL for 3 years that I thought could give them an advantage walking in the door, just different things to look out for, from everything from, going into the building to the time you leave the building, to how you approach people in the building, to what you say during the building, to what you ask for in your positional room, to the way that you handle vets, the respect that you give the people that you think may never have an opportunity to touch your life. Like when teams make roster decisions, when they make 53-man roster decisions, they don't invest money in people they don't believe in. And sometimes that's shown on the field, but oftentimes it's shown in the way you park your car, right? The way you put away your tray at the end of a lunch, the way that you handle people in the building, the way you're courteous to the lunch help as much as you are to the assistant special teams coordinator, right? And I gave them a litany of things to think about. And then about 3 weeks into it, I followed it up with another text message and said, hey, this is when others begin to fade. This is when you need to get stronger, right? And just kind of talk to them about big picture things that literally had nothing to do with their call, right? What they were playing, offense, defense, or special teams. That I think that what I've tried to do is build a relationship with our players that go beyond football. And when they make a 53-man roster, right, I want them to be very excited in a moment, but I want them, I won't share too much, but TA said to me, he said, nobody thought I would get here, right? They didn't believe in me. I said, well, the good thing is there's one person I know believed it the whole way, and that's you, right? Like, TA is a guy that went through his own adversity with us a year ago, and now he's on a 53-man roster, and to hear his head coach speak about him the way that he spoke about him yesterday, like I know that side of Tony, and that's probably the moments that I'm talking about, is those things that doesn't really have anything to do with a certain play or a certain call. It has to do with a certain way of living.
Thanks, Brett.
You guys good? All right, have a good week.